is episode 500. 500. It baffled me when I started to make this podcast that I'm at 500 episodes so far. And I've been getting such great support, and it's feedback from you listeners that have kept me going through it. There are times I will say that I would prefer not to do it sometimes, but others, then it's just, I just know how much it means to everybody. And so I just really appreciate all the feedback and the information and everything else that you're sharing. But here we are, episode 500. Before we get into the 12 qualities of a great leader, what I'm going to do is talk about a little bit about Metanoia, which we talked about last week. And if you haven't listened to that, please go back to last week's podcast. But Metanoia is Greek, and it basically means focusing on what matters. So when we focus on what matters, that automatically means we're not distracted by things that don't matter. So part of metanoia is to realize when relationships have served their purpose. This could be either romantic or business relationships. When we focus on trying to keep a relationship alive, we maybe not be focusing on what matters. Don't let your past hold you captive. Your past is your past. It doesn't determine who you are now or where you're going to be. It all comes down to you. You and you alone are responsible for all the results in your life, for all your success, for all your failure. So focus on you. Love yourself in the most unique ways. Loving yourself isn't necessarily abusing or going to spas and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But loving yourself is having the courage to stand up and continue to go after what you want. It's to have that discipline that no matter what anybody else says, you're going to do what you want as far as what's good for you. Don't expect yourself to have a solution to every problem. Hey, we don't know everything. It's okay. We can, though, go look for it. So you may not have a solution, but you probably do know where to find the solution, and that is equally as important. If you don't believe in anything, it doesn't mean that you're lost. What that kind of means is we all believe in something, but if you haven't found your purpose, if you haven't found your reason, if you haven't found your passion, it doesn't mean that you're lost. It just means that you haven't found it yet. And you are made, not defined by your struggles. So your struggles make you. It's kind of like a sculptor chipping away the blocks of granite to uncover the statue inside of it. So you are not you are not defined, but made by your struggles. So here's the thing. With the 12 qualities of great leaders, as I've read and worked with those in leadership and through businesses, through military, through entrepreneurship, through athletes, I've noticed a few common threads, 12 of them specifically, that they have in common. And what follows is a list of the most essential qualities of a great leader, at least from my perspective. So the first one, great leaders are encouraged. When they need to be, they are innovative, and embrace being different. This takes courage. They don't just meet the status quo, they challenge it. When decisions have to be made, they will often make unpopular decisions and take risks that are calculated. When that means you go against the tide. So this is almost can be summed up as observe the masses and do the opposite. Very courageous. And they fight for each other in things that need to be done. So we fight, not physically fight, but they stand up. They defend each other. So great leaders defend other great leaders. They may not agree with what they're doing, but they will defend their right to go after, to be courageous. And they defend and they stand up for the things that need to be done. They also have a vision that they feel compelled to share with others. This is critical because often people have a vision, but they're not courageous enough to share it. So the sharing of it is what attracts others to your following, if you will, or those to support you. So it's just not having a great vision, but you need to feel compelled to share it with others. And when they think about things, they do so in a strategic manner while still operating in the present. This means that they're thinking about things, the future, and they're strategically planning what they're going to do now to manifest the future. And this is critical because sometimes we can get so caught up in thinking about the future that we don't look at what we can do now. We go, well, tomorrow I'm going to start this, or next week I'm going to start that. Well, that's living in the future. Great leaders strategically think, and then what can I do right now? What can I do today to help me achieve my goal? They're authentic. Great leaders, so the qualities of great leaders, those in leadership have strong intuition, have sound gut instincts, and they follow them. They're authentic. Authentic is being yourself, and part of being yourself is listening to that inner voice, that gut feeling, and following it. Being inauthentic would be having that gut feeling, having that inner voice, and then being swayed by external influences. And great leaders, and this is all about taking risk, right? Having courage. They remain congruent and they don't simply talk, they deliver, right? They do what they say and they say what they do. How often have you said, and this goes, so this is not part of the the qualities of great leaders, but how you do anything is reflection of how you do anything. So if you're looking at simple things like I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow and you don't go, your talk does not deliver. So if you say you're going to start eating healthy, you need to start eating healthy. These small things will build on it so you can start to, you just don't talk what you're going to do, you also deliver in what you say you're going to do. And those in leadership show what they know and they showcase who they are. It's not bragging, it's not boasting, but in order to attract support, in order to attract people for your cause, you need to demonstrate what you know and you need to showcase it. So if you're in a meeting and you're in a business meeting and you have an idea and you know it works, a leader will stand up and showcase their knowledge about how to make things work. This can seem like, so this is a point where you need to blow your own horn, toot your own horn, not in a boastful, bragging way, but to show individuals what your skills and your talents and your knowledge are. And they also understand that being vulnerable doesn't mean weak, as it's sometimes necessary for success. Vulnerable is, I need your help. I don't know how to. Can you help me? Being vulnerable is asking for assistance. I'm scared to do this. It's okay to admit you're being scared, admit it with somebody, and then help them, like a coach, and help them work through it. So they're authentic. They share their feelings. They know that being vulnerable means sharing their feelings, and they continue to go after their dreams irregardless. They have integrity. So these individuals are always honest and open about things, but those in leaderships will still understand how the political side of things work. So they have integrity. So they're in a business meeting and they have this belief about where they should be going. And so they're honest with it, yet they do understand that politics sometimes in a business situation will trump the integrity. You won't sacrifice your integrity. You will express it. And if somebody else decides to do something different, then it's up to you to be okay with it or not. So you need to understand that just being honest and open about things, if you're in a business environment or a team environment, sometimes the political side of things need to be taken into consideration as well. So great leaders handle problems and deal with both the good and the bad issues and don't skirt the issues. Meaning many people like to give the praise, the recognition to individuals, but when they need to hold somebody accountable, they back off of it. Or if a customer is severely upset, a great leader will go meet that customer, where maybe a not so great leader will assign somebody else to take the bullet for them. So great leaders, they'll handle the problems and deal with both the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they understand what needs to be done and always does the right thing rather than the easy thing. This is challenging because we are all faced with challenges every single day, whether it's personal or business, about doing the right thing. The right thing may be saying no to something. And it may be easier to say yes and do it than say no and deal with the conflict that may arise from it. But if you know it's the right thing to do, to say no or to say yes and do something anyway, great leaders will do the right thing rather than being easy or succumb to pressure. They get results. Great leaders are determined to get, so they finish what they start. And this is part of mental strength is not just setting goals, but finishing and accomplishing those goals. So they get results. They are results oriented, but also by the process of these other qualities, they achieve these results. They will go about the process on their own and not simply wait to be asked to do something. This is really important in a business environment where if you know something has to be done, a leader will take. So a leader doesn't have to be leading people. You just have this attitude of I am a leader, and eventually the people will follow you, will be supportive of you. But if you're in a business environment and you know what needs to be done, you don't wait for your boss. You don't wait for somebody else to tell you to do it. A great leader will take action proactively. And in everything they do, they will always find a way to deliver. Above, beyond, around, dig through, blow up, they will find a way to get the results. If they committed to the results, they're going to get the results. That's part of integrity, right? You say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. They listen and observe. This is when they're in meetings, many times the leaders don't do all the talking, but they sit back and they listen and they observe what others are doing, and they observe themselves. When we talk too much, we can't observe ourselves because we're talking. But when we're in a meeting or a conversation, great leaders will learn to listen and observe, and you can learn more by listening and observing than by talking. They look at a situation, will take note on what's going on. So they have situational awareness, whether that's a physical surrounding for protection or a political surrounding or business surroundings. They will take notice, like who's on whose side or who's got a different agenda, and they will notice these things, which means that they put their agenda aside for a moment. And they want to keep the bigger picture in mind, and they choose their battles accordingly. So we can get into these little skirmishes of, I want to do it this way. No, you're going to do it a different way. But overall, the great leaders keep, what does the picture look like? And they know all the puzzles that have the puzzles of the pieces of the puzzle that have to fit together. They see all of those, even if they're not on the board. And they know that the bigger picture is what's important, not the individual puzzle piece. They're able to use their judgment to deliver results. And again, their judgment comes from their experience. Experience comes from being vulnerable and courageous. So all of these qualities start to blend together to help and support each other. They always know it's a team effort. Those in leadership also know that it's relationships and people that matter. You cannot be successful on your own. No matter what, you need people. You either need customers, you need a team, you need a support team, you need a designer, you need somebody. It's just like climbing big mountains. You still need a team. Even if you do it by yourself, you need the team to make the rope. You need the team to make the crampons. So you always have a team with you, whether they are with you side by side or supporting you. But it's always a team effort. And part of that team effort is knowing when to delegate things to your team. You as the leader don't have to do everything. You can delegate and should delegate a lot of the activities to your team. The leaders will spend their time delegating and asking for help when needed. They think about the best approach and are able to give others credit when it is due. Leaders aren't there about pumping up their chest and getting accolades and having statues built of them and getting ribbons and all that stuff. Leaders want the result. If the result means that others help them, they're going to give those others the credit for doing the work. So they know that it takes a team effort, and they recognize the team when the goals are accomplished. They always thank and apologize in situations, and they understand the value of social time. So when there's something great, they thank people. When they're in the wrong, they will apologize. They understand that the social time, meaning the time that maybe you're getting to know somebody, you're building rapport, you're establishing these relationships, are critical. And this is where the thank yous and the apologies and all those other aspects come in to build that impression of integrity. They respect everyone. In leadership, you must be respectful and kind to everyone. You may not agree with them, but you can respect them as a human being and respect them as a person that has their own point of view. Even if you disagree with others when it is appropriate, you can be fierce and larger than life. What that means is that even if you disagree, you still can respect people. But also, you need to be loyal and kind and even gentle. Forgiveness is essential. Just don't forget. So forgive, don't forget. But again, this is respecting. When you respect somebody and they err, you forgive them. And most of the time, forgiveness is about us. It's not about the other person. Are flexible in life and their beliefs. So this essentially is that they know that life is more than black and white. This is that gray area. Leaders will dance in that gray area more often than others. Fixed mindset individuals will say that it's this way or this way. Growth mindset leaders will go, well, there's something in the middle. Let's explore that and see how that goes. And there is an understanding that change happens even when life isn't pretty, and you hold your head up high and you refuse to go down. That means you're flexible. Behavioral flexibility is essential in success and moving forward. If you get stuck on trying to do things one way and you get into a roadblock, you're going to be stuck until that roadblock is removed. Being flexible means you go around that roadblock to do anything to achieve your goal. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Great leaders take time to avoid assumptions by checking for real understandings. This is so huge. You talk to somebody, you say, hey, would you like to go over here? Or the term ASAP is used a lot. Great leaders don't use the term ASAP because it's open for interpretations. What great leaders do is they will define, understand, can you do this role? This is the project that needs to be done. It needs to be done in this time frame. They communicate, they touch base. They don't micromanage, they just communicate, and they get feedback to ensure that their communication is understood and that they are understanding the other person's communication. They will search out clarity and keep it up to date on their communication. So if things get foggy, if they're involved in a big project, they'll seek out the clarity and make sure that everything is up to date. And when necessary, they will negotiate and handle any conflicts that arise under their leadership with professionalism. So when things happen, their team gets out of whack, disjointed, they will handle this with professionalism, not whippings and beatings until the morale improves, but they will definitely work with individuals and communicate to resolve any issues in a calm and professional manner. They are passionate and enthusiastic. When they speak up, those in leadership find their enthusiasm is infectious. This is why you want to share your visions with people. And they extend it further with awesome sense of humor. So it's just not being disciplined and having no sense of humor like a Vulcan, Spock, but it's having this enthusiasm and sharing it and having some humor around it. But that's the passion and enthusiasm that is so attractive in great leaders. They value themselves. Great leaders value themselves. They don't wait for goals to have a sense of self-esteem, which many people need goals to achieve to feel good about themselves. Great leaders feel good about themselves and then accomplish the goals. They understand that they are far from perfect and use this imperfection to help them learn and grow. So it's this imperfection that I could be a better communicator. Maybe I could be a better scheduler. I could be a better something. What they always look at, they know they're not perfect. And they understand that feedback from their team and others, there's always a grain of truth in it. It may not be right on, but there is something there, and they take a look at that feedback very carefully. These individuals obviously are open to feedback and would do what's best for themselves and the things that they face so they can remain confident and humble. And this, again, is taking that feedback, understanding it. The feedback is basically how somebody else perceives them, and they understand that that perception may be accurate or not, and they change, they grow in order to shift that perception. So, went through these really quick, but as you contemplate these 12 leadership qualities, how do you see these showing up in your own life, in your career? Just think back about that. And which one are the most interested in developing? These are some great qualities, and they are all worth, but if you could only pick one, which one would you work on this week? And how can you use coaching from me or somebody else to help improve you as a leader? These are great reflective questions, and I challenge you to write down these questions and reflect on them to see how you can improve yourself and become a great leader. So next time, who knows? It's going to be up for grabs again. If you want to see the show notes on this podcast or some other past podcasts, please visit warriormindcoach.com for more information, and you can use the pull-down menu to go to the blog. Also, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest under Warrior Mind.